All right, good morning. It's so funny, we're all a little bit loopy and giddy. The snow, yes, the inches and inches of snow. So yeah, I was just saying that the shift into another season, I feel like it strikes us at like an animal level that is hard to put your finger on. But I said to my partner this morning, I said, I just keep having this like deeper instinct, like, is everything okay? Like everything gonna be okay? You know, are we safe? Is our building safe? I mean, it was like 2 inches of snow, but somehow it clicked that like, oh wow, you know, animal instinct, we're going into a different season. And so I just think it's worth noting, and that I've been mentioning this in the recent weeks. You might need more sleep. You might be craving different foods, and you might need to not eat everything you're craving, because there's that instinct of like all the foods, right? Sugars and whatever, that actually we need the opposite. We need to go anti-inflammatory, good brothy soups and less alcohol and, you know, all this stuff. So just planting that seed with you. Today in your practice, notice what you're needing, what you are craving, let your body tell you. We're gonna start off back body. We're gonna go right into some deep core breath stuff with compression and expansion breathing. So when you're ready, come on down. Just take a moment to wiggle around, maybe start organically reaching arms overhead, maybe cultivating a yawn, real or fake. I find if I start a fake yawn, it usually turns into a real one. Yeah, animals are so good at this, and I don't know why we don't do it more often. Point and flex through both the hands and the feet. And as you're ready, nice long inhale. Exhaling. Let's do rock pose along with our compression breath. Let's get right into it. So belly to spine, spine to floor, hands to fists, arms squeezing in, thighs activated, feet, you name it. You can even scrunch up your face. When the inhale comes, softening, allowing. If you feel inspired, you can always reach overhead again. Asking, is there more? This is a great time to engage your ujjayi, great sounding breath through the throat. Just a light connection at the tip of the tongue, the rest of the tongue soft. I often use this time to kind of engage this dichotomy, as I think of it, of the parts of me that are deeply engaging, and then the parts of me that I want to remain soft, my trapezius muscles, my neck, my jaw. For those of you that are chronic shruggers, this is a great retraining for us, and hopefully helps us move into the day where we're not recruiting unnecessary muscles into whatever we're doing. As we do a few more here, notice if on your rock pose, perhaps you feel inclined to add a little sit-up motion, always after the spine has anchored into the earth. Then it's the most natural thing in the world to let your upper back lift. Empty, empty. In our yoga practice, we're often awakening all kinds of muscle groups, but really most vital is the breath apparatus, as I think of it, and that's, of course, all of the abdominal muscles, intercostals, those side muscles along the ribs. So if you can, on those inhales, invite the sensation of expansion into that side body. If you're having a hard time communicating there, add your hands. Yeah, we're going to be doing some nice warming practice today. If it's too much, or heart rate gets too high, or you've just got something going on, obviously always pause when you need to. Otherwise, notice if it's just a little uncomfortable. Maybe you haven't done much cardiovascular lately. Notice and breathe into it. Good, sounding nice, Ujjayi. Yeah, get those inner thighs engaged. Add the perineum, pelvic floor. And this is our pelvic strength, our rooting strength. I was thinking about that as I was trying to push multiple inches of snow with a broom because I could not find the shovel here. And I was like, yeah, rooting muscles. Shoulder heads down, neck loosey-goosey. 3 more. making them as slow as you can, finding those last whispers of exhale, of inhale, asking, is there more? On your last exhale, invitation to add lion stretch. So that's opening the jaw wide. If you want, you can stick out your tongue. You can draw your tongue back towards the base of the throat. Nice. And when that is complete, let's bring knees into belly. Nice little seed pose, and rocking the knees side to side. Most of us will be getting a nice little kind of massage through low back, kidneys, and ribs. We're going to invite you to power down through your upper arms until you feel you can get your shoulder blades closer to each other. We're going to do a little kind of kicking and straightening of the legs. I want to make sure we're anchored through the low back. So you should feel that deep contact. Nice long inhale. Exhale. Kick those legs straight up. Say hello, hamstrings. And then we're going to keep doing that, making it as fast as you like, comfortably. We're not trying to marry our breath with the movements. So keep it slow, deep, and wide. Good, and then I'm going to invite you to add the arms. So we're going to bend our heels in towards our butt and bring our hands up, kind of either pointing behind us or touching the floor. If you like, I'm keeping my elbows bent. Exhaling, kicking, and powering down through upper arms. If you want to marry the breath and start doing kind of that bellows breath, please do. It can be a lot of fun. If you've got uncontrolled high blood pressure, or you're feeling dizzy or weird, keep breath slow, deep, and wide. Good sinus clearing too. I've got fall allergy stuff going on and snow mold and who knows what. So you'll see me dabbing my eyes and blowing my nose. This kind of breath work is wonderful for clearing. We'll do a few more. Hope you're feeling some heat in those quads, especially if you're getting your knees straight, because that's who helps compete against your powerful, stubborn hams. Hope you're also engaging the triceps as you power the elbows down. And these are our kind of lesser used muscle groups that need some work. One more. Woo! All right, take those legs out into a straddle. Flex those feet. If this is too much for you to hold the legs up here, bring the feet flat in horse riding stance. Otherwise, nice and wide. Just 3 sit-ups. If you would like, placing the hands behind the head for neck support. Some people like reaching between with the hands. I usually can do about 1 of those, and then my neck says, help. But please, instead of thinking about bringing your head through your legs or whatever, think about belly to spine, spine to floor. And then notice you can get your tailbone to curl up off the floor and your upper back as well. It's just a much more natural way to get there, recruiting the right muscles. 1 more. Guys look good. And I'm going to use my hands inside my legs just to help the knees bend, bring them in, planting the feet for bridge pose, and up you come. Work those shoulder heads in towards the spine. You might keep your arms bent. Some people enjoy yoga mudra, intertwining the hands behind the back. So please check if you're feeling any low back tension. Make sure that your back isn't arched, that you've got a nice action through the glutes rising up. Imagining a block between the thighs. Let's do 1 more deep breath, raising the heart. Wow, I can really feel that stretch through the ribs, again, those intercostals, the diaphragm. And then a slow, slow descent. Take all the time you can. Happy baby. So nice opposite shape, bringing these towards us again now, wide. Like we want to bring them to the floor outside our ribs as we clasp either the big toe, the blade of the foot, the ankles, or place a strap across. And nice core support, tailbone tilting down towards the floor. Can you relax the neck muscles any more than you are? Beautiful. Yeah, notice how in this shape, that last bit of deep inhale gives a stretch down into the hips that would be hard to get any other way. And then I'm gonna have you just bend your knees again, so the heels are just hanging. And I'm gonna bring my hands behind my knees, like a little knee pits, as we call them. And we're doing our half straddle, so we're just gonna straighten one leg out into the waiting hand. And I've got my elbow on the floor, and I find this a really nice way to do it. It doesn't take any neck effort. Then extending the other leg. As you go back and forth, you're again warming and lubricating the knee joint, the muscles, and all the connections. It's a great place also to notice, is your knee actually getting straight? If not, try bending and then kind of kicking through the heel. Because again, we want that quadricep right at the front of the thigh to be working, doing its job. And you can point and flex through the foot and roll, and oh, so much goodness. All right. And then I'm going to clasp both feet and bring them towards the butt in butterfly. If this is hard to reach, remember you can put a strap around the feet or a scarf. Shoulder head slide down. And if you'd like, just breathing or adding a sit-up motion again, chin tucked, bringing one foot towards the head and then the other. And just some nice mobility for knees, hips. And releasing into horse riding stance, planting feet wide. As you raise your hips and power down through the upper arm again, if you notice any particular discomfort in joints, maybe bring the feet in a little bit. And I'm just gonna pulse here, kind of releasing my hips a little and then re-engaging through the glutes. I feel like this really helps us unwind some of the tension that we hold from hinging forward so much. You know, whether it's the way we stand or we're sitting a lot or we're kind of hinging forward over a project at the kitchen counter or wherever. Releasing. Keeping the feet wide, I'm going to offer kind of a different stretch. If it doesn't feel great, then you'll just walk your feet in more. You're going to take your right ankle and cross it onto the left thigh like we do in reclined pigeon. I'm going to bring my arms out to a T, again anchored through the shoulders, and I'm going to slowly let my legs rotate down to the right. So some people love this. It can provide a stretch to the outside of that left leg and so on. If you feel low back pressure, adjust it. Deep breath. And then slowly returning, and now we'll come into reclined pigeon, clasping the right knee tight to the chest and send it a little towards that center line. Scanning for unnecessary tension in neck, jaw, eyebrows. And in your own time, we'll release, and we'll take that feet wide again, just so we get that similar kind of angle. Taking left ankle onto right thigh, heels flexed for knee safety. Arms coming out into a T as we slowly settle the legs to the left. Big breath. If you want more stretch, you can always, cross the legs more deeply. That'll create a little more weight to the outside of that leg. Again, if you feel any torque or funkiness in your joints, your back off, do it differently, don't do it at all. All right, we're gonna return feet flat, but we're gonna bring them all the way in so that we've got total contact between the thighs. Always, of course, engaging downward through the upper arm, bringing shoulder blades in. That protects our cervical spine so that we can raise our hips and not feel any spinal pressure. Remember, the goal here is not to get high. The goal is to keep thorough connection through that inner thigh. Just wake it up. Add a little perineum engagement. Say hello core, say hello rooting muscles. And we'll come into one more activity for that. Lower the hips, let the soles of the feet come towards each other as the knees separate. Relaxed butterfly, nice breath. And here's our strengthening version, slowly raising the hips a little off the floor. Usually just a couple inches at most will do it. I've got my hands open in jet airplane, just a really relaxed countenance through the face and all the upper body. isolating that activity to inner thigh, deep glute. How's it feeling today? When we're in a held pose like this, it's a very easy place for the mind to get busy. Notice, tether it back to the body and breath observation. Where do you feel fabric moving against your skin as you breathe? And scanning the body for anywhere that's tightening that just doesn't need to be. See if you can do 3 more breaths with integrity. And then a nice slow journey, relaxing the hips, let yourself kind of settle with gravity once more. Now we're going to be coming onto our hands and knees to move into downward facing dog. So when you're ready, you might bring those knees together kind of into your belly spinal rock. If you don't like that, don't do it, especially if you feel spine pressure. Roll forward, intelligent hands, shoulder heads activate down, and I'm going to come into kind of a cat back as I step back one leg and then the other. And we're going to go right into pedaling. Pressing one heel towards the floor and the other, giving more space if needed between hands and feet. So sometimes your first angle is not the best angle. Let your body get what it craves. Good, and then we're gonna press the right heel into the floor, bend the left knee, and send the hips to your left. And you should feel an additional stretch down that right side of the body. And keep, especially if you're rooting through both hands, and bend the right knee, anchor the left heel, take the hips right. So you're taking your hips towards the same knee that's bent, if that helps. One more big breath, sending the torso towards the legs. Marvelous. Take those feet wide in bear pose, deep knee bend, and then walk one hand at a time, slowly back towards the feet. Really slow journey, hanging out in our fold here. I've got a nice deep knee bend, so my palms are on the floor, it just feels really anchored. Letting the head go with gravity and moving the hips side to side. Now I'm tight enough that I'm feeling some movement and kind of experience around where the IT bands connect in about the knee joint. Anybody else get that? No, they're all looser than I am. All right, we're gonna bring our elbows to our knees. Inhale, straightening the back, a little jackknife. Exhale, hands on thighs, cat back. We're gonna go into cow-cat right here. Inhale and draw the heart forward, tailbone back. And by the way, if your feet aren't wide enough for this to feel great, you can take them out beyond the edges of your mat, as long as you're not gonna slip. One more. This is a nice spinal pumping, that you can do throughout the day. If you've been sitting a bunch or something, you don't have to get out your yoga mat. I love it. All right. We're going to add yoga mudra. If you know a strap is helpful to you, go ahead and grab one. Otherwise, you're intertwining the hands so that the palms are facing, fingers are interlacing, and you're going to press your fists away from you and then away from the butt, arms straight, I hope. Again, really engaging the triceps to get the elbows straight and folding. And you do not have to hold this pose in a frozen way. In fact, it really benefits from any kind of pulsing. So maybe you're bringing your hands, returning them towards your waist and then up off, etc. Maybe you're rotating your torso one way and another. Beautiful. I love it when I look out and everybody's doing something different. That makes me so happy. We're going to be coming up to standing, and it can feel fun to use your arms to bring you there. So if you once again press through the fists, nice belly support, like you're kind of going into a little cat back, and you'll arrive upwards. Beautiful. Let's rotate those palms all the way to the sky, platter hands, arms out into T. We're going to hold here for a moment. Breathing and noticing. Sometimes we'll feel a little tingling through the fingers here because we're getting a stretch into the ulnar nerve specifically, but you might be getting it in others too. All right, on a long inhale, sweep slowly up. Remembering you never have to bring your hands all the way together. If it feels good, great. Maybe even add a little back bend, raising the heart. Exhaling, swan dive down, folding deeply, belly to spine. Commit, emptying. Inhaling, extend halfway up. Hands on knees or floor or whatever feels good. And then slowly walking your hands forward like you would for downward facing dog. And I say like you would because we're going to be playing a little bit here with something different. Bringing your feet in if they feel weirdly wide. And we're going to slowly take the right knee and bring it towards our chest. And then bring the foot through to the left. So I've got my right foot flexed. And I'm trying to put the blade of it out to the left side of the mat. Hiya. You got it. I'm going to take that same leg and I'm going to bring it up and back. And then open it, letting my heel hang towards the butt. Got that knee high. And let's do that again. Nice exhale, bring the knee towards the chest and then cross it through. If this is too much arm work, you could be playing in a table version of things. One more time, opening. Reverse, returning it. We're going to inhale forward to our first plank of the day. I'm going to do knees down. I feel like it's always a great starter point. See where I'm at. Exhaling, chaturanga. Bend those elbows, maybe just an inch or maybe all the way down. Good. Inhaling, I'm going to bring my arms out to a T, and we're going to play here a moment. I've got my chest up off the floor, but maybe you're just doing arms. Exhaling, relax a little to the floor. Inhaling, extending and flight. We'll go in and out a few times. Maybe you're rotating head just to check, like, okay, I'm not recruiting my neck muscles. You're a great Ujjayi out there. You guys are awesome. We've got our own ocean going. I like it. All right, one more long inhale. And then exhaling, your choice, child's pose or downward facing dog. Sometimes the low back can get affected by those extensions, and that's when you for sure want to go into a little child's pose to get that opposite curve going. I promised you a heated class, but I don't think I actually need the room to keep heating. You guys are creating it, good enough. All right, we're going to return to downward facing dog for our little flow on the other side. And if that doesn't work for you, you could be playing with a table version. Sometimes it's a challenge to weave the foot through, so you could even just take it out to the side instead. All right, downward facing dog. Nice long inhale, shoulders rotating out. Exhaling, bringing that left knee into the belly. Crossing it to the right underneath you. Bringing it back and up and open. Keep sending your torso towards that standing leg. Keep rooting through the hands as you go through that journey a couple more times. And you don't have to marry it with breath. Just breathing deeply. That's the key. Feeling your core supporting you in this process. And returning those feet. Again, we're going to inhale plank. You could always just go to forearm plank if you want to get off your hands. Otherwise, nice, slow, low chaturanga. Bringing those arms out to a T again. And then inviting you to play with sweeping one arm forward and one arm back. If you're feeling a bunch of back pressure, keep the legs anchored and don't come as high through the torso. You don't need to in order to get the back strengthening and the activation of that kinetic chain back there. And once more, plant the hands, child's pose, or if you prefer, downward facing dog. Let's find 3 sighing breaths. Sighing breaths help calm the amygdala, the alarm center of our brain, which can get kind of fired up, especially if you've been hurrying or worrying, or I know some people are nervous the first time they're driving, if any snow on the road. Just affirms I am well, I am whole, I am safe. We're going to come on to our butt for a balancing pose. And I know we don't really think of balancing poses on our butt, right? You should be thinking on your feet, but we do all kinds of fun stuff here. So we're doing part of boat pose, Navasana. Full boat pose is where our body is making a kind of a V shape like that, but it's notoriously difficult to get into because of hamstring tension, and it also can create a lot of hip flexor tension, which I don't love. So I'm doing an alternate version. We're going to bring our feet wide instead of trying to have them right together. I'm going to bring my hands in behind my knee bits. Shoulder heads anchor, and you should be on your sits bones, those little bony guys. And then imagine there's a string right here bringing your heart up. So there should be no rounding back whatsoever. And what I find is just sitting here actually requires effort. If you're feeling no effort, you're probably not making one. You're kind of around it, right? Neck is soft. I'm going to keep my chin tucked a little. And then I'm going to flex my feet and see if I can raise the feet up off the floor a little bit. And if you're not having any balance challenge at all, you probably are on your sacrum instead of your sits bones. So you need to think about like lifting that heart up and forward. You could play with bringing the shin bones a little higher. If you want to play with having them in, by all means do, but you'll notice it just adds another element. And then some people have fun clasping the big toe. If you can, you take your elbows inside. You could try grabbing the blade of the feet. It's a little harder. Walking those back, get that heart high again, and hold. So obviously working with whatever makes the most sense in your world. If you've got a hold of your feet, you then have the option of playing, about to lose it, of straightening your legs or working them towards straight. Yeah, woo, rock and roll. Breathing, noticing. All right, bring those babies in. We're gonna come right onto our forearms. A little cow cat back, inhaling, draw that heart forward, and this little cat back, and then stepping into your forearm plank. So forearm plank gives us a beautiful place to practice being in ease inside of doing. And so what I'd love you to notice is, you know, when we first learned this together, we really kind of trained ourselves to kind of hyper tuck because we didn't want to be sway back. But ideally, once you have learned how to use that abdominal core, we want to practice lengthening, finding some spinal curve again instead of a hyper tuck flat low back. See what you can do. Yay, sun's coming out a little bit. What are you finding? Can you do a little shimmy? Take your chest just a little side to side. And in your own time, when you know you've kind of hit your edge, shall we say, just come on down, become a lump, practice softening. Oh, that may be the most important skill besides breathing itself that we're learning here at our mat is how to let go and how to scan and notice what's still holding on. I do find that balancing poses are some of our best heat builders. So we are doing a bunch of that. But I also find that they challenge us in a good way to return to breath, not just when we're thoroughly relaxed in Shavasana or whatever, but when we are living the complexity of life. So we're going to come into gate pose, among others. I'm going to offer side arm plank today too, for those of you whose wrists won't be too irritated by it. So I'll give you some alignment stuff as we're getting there. These do make a difference. They'll help you find stability. But wherever you are in it, even if you're literally falling backwards, I'm hoping you'll practice the breath. That's the key piece. So we're in table pose, and we want to be in stable table. And that means, again, that my back isn't hanging. I've got nice core support. Maybe you can even think about that low robot belly, as I call it, that part that we develop in robot pose between the hip bones. And you could just see, can I clap? And that's a good way to be like, yep, Well done. Shoulder heads anchor down the back, take the right foot back, place it 90 degrees and check. Like push into it, that you're squishing something with the whole sole of your foot. Leg is straight. Then take your left glute and tighten towards the center edge of the mat. If you look under you, you'll see your thigh bone get straight up and down. That's what we want. And then the right hand on the right hip, breathing, slowly rotating open through the right shoulder, checking the head. Most of us, our head will be forward of the spine unless we intentionally tune in. And then you might raise the right arm. I usually look down at the floor because my neck prefers it. Breathing. See if you can reduce the weight in your floor hand by using your left or lower waistline to rise up. It's like you're creating a little bridge for a boat to get underneath. And then maybe you want to play with extra challenges like raising your back foot off the floor. And then if you'd like, before we depart, brief sidearm plank, take your left foot and plant it blade on the floor. We were kind of playing with that earlier, how to flex that foot and anchor through the outer foot and stack the other foot on top. You got it. Maybe look up at the sky, big breath. And then come on down. Love up that left wrist. It would probably appreciate it. Yeah, so again, even if you're wobbling, falling, etc., breathing. All right, let's do the other side. Planting that left foot, shoulder heads anchor, really pushing into the earth, squeezing that right hip towards the center line. Left hand to hip. And I'm hoping you can kind of feel an unfurling in the body, where it comes powerfully unfolded and straight, lifted through that lower left or right side, excuse me, so you can check that you don't need your floor hand. And then you can play with your back leg, scanning your breath. Of course, the breath might be kind of staccato or make funny kind of little stops and starts. Just don't hold it. And if you'd like, adding sidearm plank by stacking the feet and keeping the body straight. Maybe raising that top arm, maybe look at the sky. You can even play with raising that top leg and come on down. Ooh, goody. We're coming to the floor for our quad stretch, clasping the ankles. If that doesn't work for you, you'll be doing a standing version, right? So come on down, love up that right wrist. Ooh, bringing the right forearm across the front of the mat so it's parallel. And that's going to make it a lot easier to engage the glutes and gracefully reach for your left ankle. I'm going to resettle my forehead onto my forearm and just hang out here and breathe. Make sure that your bent knee is returning in towards the straight leg. If you're not getting as much of a stretch as you'd like, think about raising your knee up off of the floor. You can picture kind of pointing it a little bit behind. Always, if you're standing, rising up through the heart. And of course, breathing wherever you are. If you're ready, you'll switch nice and slow. Bring the left arm, forearm across the front. Anchoring through the pelvis as you reach back with that right hand. And I'm going to offer the option after a few breaths of coming into full bow pose. Sometimes I like to release the leg that I've just been stretching, kind of give a break, maybe windshield wiper, whatever might feel good. You could even come into a brief forearm plank if you wanted to. And as you are ready, always again, a slow, intentional entrance. One forearm supporting at the front, getting that first clasp and raising into your kind of spinal extension before reaching back for the other ankle. And if you did bring the knees wide, bringing them back in, I don't mean to touching, I mean straight back from the hip joints. Shoulder head sliding in towards the spine. And on the inhale, pressing the ankle into the hands. Exhaling, retreat. Going in and out as your body feels inclined until you say, aha, that is the perfect amount, I'm done. And maybe you rest here on your belly or press back to child's pose. No wings, no shrugs. One of the great gifts of being on our yoga mat is that there is nothing else to pay attention to. Doesn't mean our mind won't wander, but this is such a wonderful place to notice what's in there today. Where are you tight? Where do you feel free? Where do you feel strong? Where do you feel checked out? So we're going to be doing a little Kapalabhati breathing, skull polishing breath. It's really good for lungs and sinuses and skull polishing. There is Kleenex, if anyone would like some. I will happily wander around with the box. But you can kind of check yourself. We're going to be seated, and then we'll add Kapalabhati back into some standing movements. So super important that we are comfortably seated, that our hips are higher than our knees or the same height. In other words, I do not want the knees up here. I want them down here. If you feel any knee or ankle discomfort, you could be in straddle. You can always sit in a chair on the edge of an ottoman or what have you. Yeah, you guys look good. Anybody feel like they want a Kleenex out there? Yeah, maybe do a sample kind of inhale. And what you're doing in Kapalabhati is a kind of explosive exhale through the nose. We were taught to imagine that you're trying to shoot a pea, like a green garden pea, out of your nose. It's a helpful image, really. Yeah. Cautionary Kleenex. Cautionary Kleenex. So one of the great challenges I find with Kapalabhati is that when we think about creating power, a lot of people's bodies respond with shrugging movement. And so it can take a lot of retraining for some of us, for some of you, no bigs. But to get this to really be an isolated event at the abdominal area. So when you're doing compression exhale, all those muscles that you're recruiting slowly, here you're engaging quickly, like boom. So it's an in and out. Unlike bellows breath, which we just do a rapid in and out like this, it is more exhale powerfully and then inhale however long it takes to get more of a deep breath. So you're not just doing these shallow little sips in and out. It's more of a, here I'll show you. Give me a little blow first. So you can hear how the timing of exhale and inhale do not match. Does that make sense? In mind in your body. Excuse me, you're just not trying to make them match, right? So as you are ready, let's do a sample one and see what our body does. Inhale, root rise through the spine, breathing in through the nose. And then on the exhale through the nose, a rapid expulsion. Good, let's do a few more. You might have your hand on your belly as a way to notice, what is my abdomen doing? It should go towards the spine on the exhale and expand into your hands on the inhale. Once you feel like you've got that, then just keep it going. Beautiful rhythm of in and out, in and out. And if you feel lightheaded or anything funky, too much head pressure, back off and just do some nice compression, expansion breath. Feel free to play it. Maybe slow it down a little, maybe speed it up a little bit. Just see what that does for you. A few more. And then we'll be doing some breath lock activity afterwards and in between our next round. When you are ready on your next inhale, a nice long inhale, sweeping the arms up. On the exhale, hands might plant on the thighs, fold, empty through the mouth. I have to put my hands on the floor because the cushion's leaning me forward. Hold the breath out and return to seated, holding up, external breath lock. What do you notice as you're holding out? Can you hold a little longer? Can you soften around it? When you do need to breathe, inhale and hold it. Internal breath lock. Hoping you can hear your own heartbeat. And never rush, please, to meet my words, but when you're ready, we'll go into our second round. We'll be doing 3 total of Kapalabhati. Nice long inhale through the nose, rapid exhale through the nose. And as we continue, really focusing, asking, am I isolating those abdominal muscles, or am I not necessarily involving neck, shoulders, etc.? Just keep that attention. And your rhythm might be different than mine, keeping it going for a few more rapid expulsions. Slow as inhale, you need to get enough breath. No hyperventilation, please. Last one, long inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, fold, empty through the mouth. Hold out, external breath lock as you come up to seated, holding out. Noticing your heartbeat, noticing tension, asking, can I soften around this? When you need to, inhale, hold in. Enjoy the sensation of breath rising up the spinal column, noticing its pathway. As you hold in, observing the sensations of the breath lock. We're going to do one last round and ask you to just observe and make sure you're feeling good in your system. Generally, this can feel quite meditative. Any questions before we? Yes, really great, really relaxed. Let's do another round, isolating all that beautiful power in our central body. Just the tip of the tongue, by the way, connecting with the roof of the mouth. Notice thinking, keep going, about a half a dozen more, you got it. Yes, isolating all that power. You might be getting a little fatigued at the center body. Yeah, cool. And a long inhale, sweeping up. Exhaling, fold, empty through the mouth. Hold out, external breath loud. When needed, inhale and hold in, internal breath lock. I'm going to take some of that, I hope, meditative quality and powerful core, all of that into our warrior flows. So if you prefer to come to warrior from mountain versus no downward facing dog, like flying, etc., then please do. You'll be at the front of the mat in mountain, or you can always step from the back too. Otherwise, we're going to roll forward once more onto hands and knees, table pose, and use some nice cow and cat movements to come into our downward facing dog. Core support, easy neck, feet fairly close together as we slowly take right leg fly. Maybe one that knee opening we played with early in our practice. You might also look under your right armpit, keep sending your torso towards your thigh, and then slowly neutral and bring your right foot forward into a low lunge. Pause, right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. Remember, you can use your hands on your thigh to gently come up and use all those right muscles. Where would your arms like to be? So one of my favorite mudras is bringing the index finger and thumb together, and then the other fingers are out kind of straight and activated with each other, like so. And I'm going to add a little Kapalabhati, so as you are ready. Good, just a few more. And then a long inhale, raising the heart if you'd like, otherwise you can always stay neutral. Exhaling, opening warrior two, platter hands, palms face the ceiling. And we're using the power of that rooted back leg to invite the hips to settle forward and down. Remember to please externally rotate the thighs. Your knees should always be stacked. You can always add another round of Kapalabhati if you're not sick of it. Otherwise, slow, deep and wide breath, a couple more. Remember to take the head wherever the neck asks. And a long inhale, extending both legs, reaching up. Exalted warrior, and then forward slowly, presenting our platter to come into our lateral stretch. Left shoulder stacks back, good. Check your hips, send them towards the center line. Remember what you did in gate pose? Yeah, we want that same sense of coming flat. That looks amazing. You really made a difference with that. Then reaching that top arm towards the front of the room. Opening that heart. Yes, and some of you like reaching that second arm forward. That can be marvelous as long as you don't feel any kind of protection in the back or you can't breathe. Otherwise, you certainly could extend both if you wanted to. All right, and then we're going to rotate, plant the hands to the floor, or if you'd like a block, because we're going to rotate to the right, a nice spinal twist. Make sure you're low enough in your lunge. If your hips are high, if your feet are too close and you're up here, this is not going to make any sense in your body. Get that nice lower lunge and then rotate open through the right arm. Yeah, and then bringing that hand forward towards the wall behind you, or in front of you, and then plant and step back, downward facing dog. Your choice here, holding, resting, or flowing. Dog series, you could always do cow-cat, otherwise inhaling plank. Check that you're able to hop with those feet. That's how you know, again, you're not swagging, you're in your core. Exhaling, slow, low push-up, bend those elbows. Inhaling either cobra or coming onto the feet for upward dog. Very active legs if you're doing that. And press back downward facing dog. Yeah, upward dog is where having those quads being able to engage like we've been practicing becomes super helpful. Here, we're going to take our left leg flying. You should lose no integrity when you do that. No elbow bending, no collapsing. Open that left knee. Keep pressing torso towards your right knee. Maybe looking under your left armpit for fun. Hello, world. And then slowly forward in your lunge. Grab it if you need to. Get that foot right under the knee. Left hip bone back, right hip bone forward, hands on thigh perhaps. And coming slowly out. Just reduces the chance of any back injury, by the way. So hip bones straight forward. You need to be on the ball of your back foot, or if you're using your foot flat on the floor, the toes have to be pointing very much forward. Like if your left foot is noon, your right toes are pointing at 1. If they're out at 2 or 3, in general, you won't be able to get that hip rotation. All right, maybe you are adding that same hand position that we're doing, that same mudra, and we'll come into Kapalabhati. Good, keep it going, a few more, softness through the face. Nice connection, just the tip of the tongue. And then a long inhale, sweeping up. Exhaling, opening warrior 2. Remember, in Virabhadrasana 2, often we feel naturally that we might want to lengthen our stance. Good, check your front foot and knee. We don't want to be under or over rotated. Beautiful. And it's kind of fun, when I tell you, maybe listen your foot, notice, like, does it feel calmer? Does it feel more neutral? If it doesn't, then you might need to be rotated. Good. One more breath, really getting into gravity. And then inhaling, exalted warrior, brooding, reaching. And then forward, presenting your platter, and then lateral stretch. So I'm placing elbow and thigh. Sometimes people in this pose take hand all the way to the floor. I don't usually teach it that way because I find most people then will put their butt out behind. And what's key here is that, again, we're like in gate pose, nice and flat. And just like in gate pose, we want to use our waistline. So think about your left waist anchoring up into your right. Again, it's like you're creating a little tunnel. Someone could go between your thigh and your ribs. Then reaching that arm forward. Maybe you're reaching the other arm forward. And then we're going to slowly rotate that hand down, coming into our low lunge. Steering hips, left hip bone back, right hip bone forward. Opening with that top arm. Breathing, observing. Nice spinal twist happening through the core. And then reaching that arm forward and downward facing dog. What does your body need right now? I love pedaling it out. I just feel like my calves and Achilles always benefit from that. Dog series, cow cat, holding downward dog, maybe going to child's pose. What is your system going for right now? And I love it when I look out to see all different things. That's a great sign that you are practicing yoga.
Are we going to do a spinal twist?
Another one? Sure, yes.
Well,
You mean the relaxed spinal twist? Yeah. Let's do it.
I lost my twist.
I'm glad you recommended it, actually. Thank you. This would be a great time for that. Yes, let's do it. Do you have your block handy? Because I'm going to have us put it under the sacral triangle. We'll do that afterwards. So in spinal twist, one of the key pieces is keeping the legs connected if you're using both knees bent, which I personally prefer. Some people like a single knee down twist like so. But keeping them connected and anchored and high as the hips or higher if you prefer. So I flex my feet, I get my legs really active, and you can put a little cushion between there if you want to. And have your floor hand available to kind of anchor the legs from the top. And you can even scoot your floor shoulder a little closer to the outside edge of the mat. And sometimes that will increase the twist in a lovely way. Opening your back arm, and the more organic, the better. So you're moving the back arm, you're moving the head, you're breathing, you're noticing. Sometimes it feels good to come back to embryo and then open again. And sometimes people extend that top leg and enjoy that additional stretch through hip and IT band. staying here as long as it feels delish. Please make sure that you are giving it full breath. The twist will naturally restrict the breath. So you've got to decide, I'm going to be willful. I'm going to bring breath past the resistance. And in your own time, you'll come to the other side. Sometimes people like making it an active journey. So arms out to a T, thighs connected, etc. Other times you might just come back gently to center and recreate your pose on the other side. And feet flexed if you're using a double knee. And if you're using a single knee, by the way, it's still very active. The extended leg is heel flexed as well. If you have any low back instability, I definitely recommend knees together. Yeah, this is an organic experience of deep breath, of winding and unwinding. In other words, you don't stay in the most intense version of the twist. The breath should demand that you kind of come out of the twist. That back arm rises a little and resettles. And it makes a nice ujjayi. Ujjayi breath is a marvelous way to keep ourselves mentally present with the breath. And maybe you're extending that top leg. When I do that, I always have my lower hand kind of connecting or supporting. And if your leg is further down than the hip or 90, you don't want to extend it. It's just going to create a pull on the low back. It really needs to be straight from the hip or higher up the body. In your own time, coming on back, and we're going to take a hold of our block or alternate, whatever you're using. We're going to raise the hips with our feet under the knees, of course, planting the block or object of support right at that sacral triangle and keeping the knees bent. So I'm just staying right on my feet. I'm going to let my body relax. And the hope is that the positioning of that block is such, it's far enough down, that letting your body relax lets the kind of pelvis tuck a little and the lower back elongate. So not in a curve or an arch, if you will, which is what will happen if you have the block too high. So we should just feel that our pelvis is being pressed up a little and our low back is settling down a little. Provide a pretty marvelous sense of almost like tractioning in the low back. And of course, as always, we want to be able to breathe into it. I should mention that this is not something you would ever hold a super long time. I assigned this to a massage client a couple of weeks ago, and they really were in pain afterwards, and they acknowledged that they'd held here for like minutes at a time. And I was like, no, I'm usually here for maybe 6 breaths, so I should specify. Because our body is always craving neutral, we're giving a chance here to experience this counter curve to the way we often are in daily life. A lot of people, doing a lot of heavy lifting, firewood, that kind of stuff, you'll be experiencing some low back sensitivity. If you would like to stay here but straighten your legs now, let the body just drape on the block, please do. And if that doesn't feel great, don't do it. You can come right off the block. Now, when you do come off, what would feel good? Often knees to belly is lovely. Maybe you want another happy baby. Maybe you're craving another pigeon, whether it's reclined or more traditional. I'm going to have us do our other supported posture that is for helping us refine neutral through the kind of cervical spine and upper spine and shoulder joints, actually. And so for this one, most of us, if you're using a block under the bra strap, as I think of it, you're gonna want something to tuck under your head. So I've grabbed my sweater, for example. You could also use something lower. You could roll up a towel or something like that. Because we do not want this to feel tension building. There should be no pain or discomfort, really. Sometimes there's a little discomfort, a little like, oh, okay. So I'm gonna be here with my elbows on the floor, kind of positioning my object of support, having something ready to tuck under my head, so that as I drop my head back, I've got something to catch it. And what I find is like a quarter inch or a half inch of height up or down the body of where you have that block position can make the difference between like, it's okay, or we are seeking the and please breathe into that space. And once again, especially if you're on a tall enough object like the block, you will be feeling some stretch in the breath apparatus, the diaphragm, intercostals. This is also a shoulder therapy position as I think of it. I'm going to take my right arm straight to the sky and then reach behind through the fingers. Thumb is facing the floor. There is no intent to touch the floor. And I'm going to sweep that arm out and back in towards the ear a little bit. You can even rotate the head away from the arm as it comes in, just creating some nice mobility. And as you're ready, you'll switch and explore the other side. Is this side different? That's one of the questions we're always asking in yoga. It gives us kind of a clue trail to what might be going on with our body, first of all. But it also tethers our attention to our body so that we are aware of the subtle. We don't want to miss any of what's knowable about the body here on our yoga mat. And of course, I've been already thinking about winter and so on, and I'm sure you guys have been too, snow shoveling, all of that. We would love to be able to do all that with fantastic strength and resilience and not get crippled from it. And that's very doable. We're all very strong. It's more about how we use this incredible body that we have. When you feel complete with that shoulder exploration, if there's anything else your body's craving, please do. Then please find your resting position. Maybe it's still on your object to support if that doesn't feel too extreme. Maybe it's just rolling off onto your side body in embryo pose, tucking something under your head. Corpse pose. You might have your legs up the wall or up on an ottoman or couch, for example. And as you first invite the body to settle, scan and notice what parts, if any, habitually hold, are sort of preparing for the next thing. This is where it might be important to have a mantra that works for you, that effectively connects you to your body, seducing, inviting it to relax. Phrases like sinking in with gravity, or be here now, or nothing to know, do, or accomplish, that I find really helpful. Slowly expand your breath and awareness of your body. Please scan your yoga practice today just for any awareness of something that felt really good and useful that you might want to repeat sometime this week. Is there any particular energy with which you would like to emerge into your day? We have so many different versions of ourselves, and as I was commenting at the beginning of the practice, that, winter first starts, I can feel this sort of deeper animal nature that forgets that I live in an insulated house with heat, and so I'm like, oh my God, it's winter. And I always have to remind myself what I really love is to approach winter looking forward to it, to the adventure, appreciating its beauty. And so I did. On the way here, there were absolutely beautiful textures of all the different crops as I went by. So there's the beautiful texture of the soybean field. It was very kind of pixelated and lovely, little balls of things. And then there was the remainder of the cornfield, which had all these lines. And then there was a hay field with the big round bales. And it's just like, God, it's gorgeous. I really look forward to winter this year. I do my best. So, with what energy would you like to emerge and embrace? Thank you so much for joining me at the mat. I'm really glad you did. I hope you had a great practice. Stay warm.